I don't know. Countdown. So, bro, I saw this movie on Friday, and I said to myself when I walked out of the theater, I was like, you know what? I feel like Deron's going to be disappointed about this film.
And I would think you are a really good friend, and you know me pretty well.
I like to think I do.
Yeah, you do. Welcome, everybody, New Black Nerd Podcast. It's your boy, Medic Grizzly, along with Prince. We're going to spoil the shit out of this. So if you have not witnessed or took your time to watch this film, please stop or don't blame us afterwards because we're going to spoil it.
Yeah, and before we get started, guys, again, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, do all the things. If you guys like what we do here, let us know. If you don't, let us know. But like Deron said, we're going to spoil this. So this is your warning. If you guys have not seen the film yet, AntMan Quantumania, go check it out. Come back. Let us know your thoughts. We're going to get into it. Deron, I'm going to let you go first, man, because you seem, you just watched it. You just got out of the theater, an hour ago? So
yeah.
Take it away, man. Let me know your thoughts.
I was so hyped for this movie, man. So hyped. Let's take it back. Why this movie was so important. Loki. I personally am one of the few, I'm not sure, I'm going to say few people. I personally did not, Loki was okay. It was okay. Until that last episode, I was like, yo, this can be some potential fire. And then we find out that Jonathan Majors is going to be a big role. That's the next big bad. I'm like, yo, his acting range is incredible. I'm all there. If it comes out, I'm watching it. So when the film came around today, you know how you get everything ready, get the snacks on, everything cool. I'm sending y'all pictures in the group chat. Yo, move by the start. I'm like a little kid. I'm ready to go. Visually, the movie was amazing. I love the different. It's not human. It's like the world is like the city and the blocks. You actually see a different world. You know that comic worlds can go to different genres. I love it. I'm not a big fan of Ant-Man, but I understand his purpose. I think the actor playing Ant-Man is more of a comic relief now for the Avengers than actual mainline character. And I thought Jonathan Majors was going to steal the show, which he did, but I overall was underwhelmed for the actual film. I felt the film didn't hit home for me. It really didn't. It seemed very predictable as the story was going. Like, oh, I know what's going to happen here. I know what's going to happen there. The ending really pissed me off. Really pissed me off. But before we get there, how did you feel about the opening scene and seeing how Kang was already trapped down there and how it explained what the connection was with Ant-Man and Jen?
I kind of predicted as much. Like, I knew he was going to be stuck down there for some kind of reason. And if you were paying attention, you saw kind of how Janet reacted to them building that quantum satellite signal device, whatever you want to call it. So it was clear very early on that she had a history with Kang from her time down in the quantum realm. There's a little bit of plot holes there because they've gone to and from the quantum realm before with no kind of qualms from Janet in the past. So it seems very convenient that, like, now, because we have to introduce Kang, now all of a sudden it's, wait, you're going to the quantum realm? Why? You shouldn't go there, blah, 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 whatever. But, we've seen her talk about the quantum realm with Scott Lang and Hank Pym before, and there was never any, whatever. We don't have to get into the plot holes. I understand. Sometimes you got to just move a story forward. I think my big thing, and I was just excited as you were. We had a whole podcast just about the trailer itself. But, and maybe this is just us being a little bit too nerdy in the comic book fandom, that we expect a lot more than we get. And I think it's kind of been a little bit of a recurring theme. Like, we had this discussion about Phase 4 before, and people have been talking about it. where it's like the stigma that is the Marvel universe.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that stigma has never been more true than it is right now. I feel like a lot of the stuff that they've put out lately has been very disappointing. I mean, we're talking Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking what was the last thing that just came out? Thor Love and Thunder.
That was terrible.
Honestly, pretty much half of the TV shows, the silver screen things, not the big screen things like the movies, but some of the TV shows things. I know you don't want me to mention She-Hulk, but She-Hulk is a big one of those.
Why you do that,
but like a lot of the others, like they were good, but like they didn't capture the same magic that the earlier phase Marvel movies hit, right? I mean, like we had a dozen films back to back where it was like Age of Ultron, Winter Soldier, Black Panther, Civil War, Thor Ragnarok, Infinity War, Endgame. It's like those all came like back to back, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like lately the MCU there's been a lot of hype for the movies, but, and I'm not saying that like the movies have been terrible, because they haven't been shit, right? Like that, I'm not saying that at all. But if we're expecting the movies to be an 8 out of 10, they're coming in at like a 6.5 out of 10. And it's been kind of disappointing because, like, again, I did like Kang. I really liked how menacing they made him. I always love when you're trying to introduce a very imposing figure and you have just people leading up to like his reveal just talking about him, and you see like the emotions of everyone just being like afraid of him.
I like that.
So,
I did.
I thought they touched on that really, really well. And even when he was introduced, you saw just how powerful he was. I do feel like, again, it's plot armor. Like you said, it was very predictable. Like y'all made him almost so strong when he was introduced, to the point where in the third act, it was just like, how did he get knocked down this many pegs?
And
because just like 45 minutes ago, like you couldn't even breathe around him without getting your shit pushed in. And now all of a sudden you guys are just fighting hand to hand. I almost feel like if they were going to do that, they should have went like the Scarlet Witch route and nerfed him out of the gate and just made him more cunning instead of powerful. Make him more of like a shrewd dictator rather than just someone who is just overwhelmingly powerful. Because like when you first meet him, it's clear Ant-Man and anyone he brought with him, they're all out of their league. But then by the end of the movie, it's just like he gets carried away by ants. It's weird.
So let's go back. I agree with you 1,000%. When they were introducing Kang, I loved it. I freaking loved it because visually you're seeing a different world. You've seen how Janet was so scared that she tried to hide him, but also tells you she's also used to how to maneuver in that realm of how you do things and how she survived. It showed her that she's no punk or pushover. She actually can hold her own. And then as you lead up to it, one of my favorite parts of the film is when he like swatted away Ant-Man and Wasp is like, yo, get out of here. Like, how do you go from that to the third act? That doesn't blows my mind. So he smacks him like crazy. You also see MODOK was another comic relief. They kept showing his face. The armor was really cool, but they kept opening his face like, "Hi, it's me. We know it's you, dude. You said it like 7 times in the film." And I'm not looking forward to Captain America 4 now, because they mentioned how he's supposed to be one of the main villains. That's another subject of no podcast, but I don't know how it's going to work. But anyway, in Ant-Man, I did not like how they made Kang so menacing, so powerful, as if he was God level. And then the progression was, as the film gets higher and gets longer and longer, he descends. and Ant-Man all of a sudden achieves with ants that have super intelligent ants that have advanced in technology for hundreds of thousands of years going down the quantum realm, all of a sudden can just destroy him and his tech. That doesn't sit well with me at all. The trailer made it seem it was going to be more hand-to-hand combat than it actually was. So first you said on the trailer, great job. It got me hype, but it did not deliver. To the point where I felt that Jonathan Majors' acting range was still showed. His emotions, facial expressions. He saved the movie again, like he did with Loki. But the end credits, I think, were more important and actually got me more excited than the actual film. And that's pretty bad. So as we go through the actual film, how do you feel about his daughter? Like, what was the purpose of showing her?
Before I get to Cassie, I want to like piggyback on what you said. Like, I think Jonathan Majors, like he performed exactly how I thought he would perform. Like, he crushed it. Yeah. This is no shot at Jonathan Majors. Like, I think every scene he's in, he steals. Especially like you feel that this guy is you get that feeling that like he's always in control.
Yes.
Wherever he is, he's in control. Just like the presence that he has when he's in a scene, you know that he's the most powerful person in that room, and no one else can challenge him. Mm-hmm. Another thing about, like you were saying about the quantum realm ants, they lived 1,000 years in a single day. Here's my thing, and this is another plot hole that bothered me. Seemingly, the whole time they were in the quantum realm, there wasn't any kind of time distortion when they got back, which is not consistent, considering the last time Scott was in the quantum realm, he was in there for like 5 minutes, and he was in there for the entirety of the 5-year blip. Mm-hmm. So when he comes back, there should have been some kind of consequences, because even if they were in there for an entire day, even if they were in the quantum realm for an entire day, that should at least be, I don't know, the time doesn't pass the same way in the quantum realm that it doesn't in real life, right? And we've seen this on several occasions. Mm-hmm. So to just ignore that it's whatever. It's silly. It's dumb. It's dumb. That's just
poor writing. The whole entire
poor writing.
Poor freaking writing. Like, you want to get
poor writing.
Majors did his thing, but the overall film itself, the way it was even broken down, like we can do first phase, second phase, third phase. They took a page out of Star Wars. They definitely did with the whole entire like feel, my personal opinion, the ships and everything. And even in the beginning, when they said, do you even have ants here? They don't have ants down there. So it's basically telling you that there are different type species down there. And all of a sudden they get advanced and they become this unstoppable person that can stop King.
It was just very convenient. It was just like it was a thing that they put in that was just like, well, we have to have something in here that's going to weaken Kang, because how Ant-Man, the Wasp, and Cassie are constructed, they can't beat him. There's nothing they can do to touch him. So we have to do something. It just felt kind of lazy. Like, it just felt kind of lazy. I understand you have to bring him down to Earth so that they can have a shot, but I felt like there could have been a better way to do it. And I don't know what that way is, but just saying, oh yeah, these ants advanced, they lived 1,000 years in a single day, even though we've been down here a day and it's just been a regular 24 hours on our Earth. Doesn't make any fucking sense. And they all got sucked in quantum realm. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, in prior movies you weren't. On top of that, Kane mentions that when Scott says, I'm an Avenger, have I killed you already? How do you say I've killed Avengers, but I can't beat ants? Come on, man. How do you say that?
Yeah, and he makes a like an kind of infers that he's killed a version of Thor, because he's like, you're not the one with the hammer, are you? So what did Ant-Man do, or Ant-Man and that army of ants do in this movie that Thor could not have overcome this version of Kang? Like, when he says that, like when he said it the first time, I believed him until the end of the movie, where I was just like, there's no way this guy kills a version of Thor, any version of Thor.
It just doesn't make sense in my head. So as the movie moves on, I do like that they briefed on that Kang was just on a rampage to try to, and also explain that Kang, what Janet did stop Kang from leaving. You're thinking, well, if Kang can do this, why couldn't he leave already? He had a suit. It explained why he couldn't, the whole everything else. But a part of that I did not understand is maybe because they're saying that his spaceship only had one of the actual devices. Why couldn't he make a second one? Maybe because that became his. I don't know why that you couldn't make another one, but maybe that was because it was part of the suit.
Well, yeah, that was a little unclear because she was like, well, he couldn't leave, but I gave him enough. So it sounds like she gave him enough power to like recreate his tech suit, because that's what gives him his like fighting power, is like his tech suit. Because before that, I was just like, okay, he can't time travel using this thing anymore, but he has enough power to just recreate his suit out of thin. I don't know. It was just a little weird to me. But I was okay overlooking that, because it was like, okay, we have to explain how that was what the whole plot was built around, right? Was that he was trapped in the quantum realm trying to get out, and he needed this thing to get out, right? And again, I don't want to nitpick this too bad, but
we are.
The probability thing, I feel like if this is a guy who knows and has worked with endless variations of himself,
why would it bother him?
Why would that probability thing bother someone like Kang? If anything, he would walk into that thing and be like, oh, this is going to be a piece of cake. I've already worked with millions of different variations of myself. We can all get on the same page. We all want the same thing. This is why we have a council of Kangs. That's, by the way, already in motion. It's already a thing that's operating. It seems like it's been a thing that's been operating for God knows how long.
Bro, we can go even deeper in this whole thing. Let's really think it out. When they were in, I guess they're trying to make Cassie like a young Scott, a delinquent type, always trying to fight the fight. When he was the first movies, was in jail. I get it. I definitely get it. Following the crumbs. But when you introduce a character like her as in trying to make her a mainstay, you would think that they are passing the torch. You would think that would be like the next phase of what they're doing. And that wasn't the case at all. It felt like they want to make a super team of just Ant-Man and Wasp. I get it. But when they're inside of the actual jail, and then Kang just uses his basically wristband to pin them against the wall and shock them into pain of submission, how do you go from that to you can't do that when ants are on you? Make it make sense.
Yeah, it didn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
It doesn't. It's holes in this entire thing. It doesn't make sense. How do you go from you speak only? I tell you, don't speak when I speak. So all of a sudden, he's so brave enough that he can just go and attack because you're my brother. I'm gonna avenge you. Fuck out of here! Like just the freak out of here. The entire type thing was made to be. It almost made me feel like they wanted Ant-Man to be the new, like, fun-loving movie you bring your kids to. When Kang is supposed to be, I know there's variations. I understand this may not be but he's a conqueror. How do you tell me that she touched the actual orb, saw him do all destruction, killed everybody? You admit that you killed Thor, that you're just Scott Lang, but you can win? What? And at the end of the actual film, when they separate, that's okay, it makes sense. I mean, Scott and them are going to get stuck down here, which we talked about in our podcast before, about Ant-Man. This is the end of his run. He's going to be stuck down there, and it's going to be them moving on in the future. You still find a way to get back? And like you said, there's no consequence to this?
Yeah.
What?
And at the end, they just kind of make like that portal that you can just freely walk in and out of the quantum realm, which is
since when?
So okay. So given that, here's my big problem about that whole portal in the end. Kang is one of the smartest people in the entire Marvel universe, right?
Yes.
Not only is he one of the smartest people in the Marvel universe, he was born several thousand years in the future from where we are today in the Marvel universe.
Yes.
So for someone like Cassie to be able to build this portal that you're able to just walk freely back and forth from the quantum realm at the end of the movie without whatever he needed for his orb, which is, again, thousands of years more advanced in technology than whatever Cassie can build.
Yes.
Doesn't make any sense why he was stuck down there to begin with. And my thing, to your point, like we were talking about this earlier about like how everything's like a happy ending. I get it. You want the hero to get out. I get it, right? But when I'm watching the trailer and you hear Scott say, "I don't have to win. We just both have to lose." What would have been a better narrative thing to do is to do away with that stupid portal and have Scott just deliberately destroy the orb. And both of them get stuck. But now you making this portal that he can just walk to and from freely.
Yes.
It nullifies the entirety of the importance of needing whatever it was that Kang needed. None of that was needed.
It makes, and Kang says, "I've seen the end," and worry about everybody else coming. Like you said, this man's been around for centuries. This man's seen the future. He's seen what's going on. But Cassie, you made it seem like she can be the person that solves this whole equation, and he can't. This man started from a little farm area where they were with Janet to an entire civilization with his own people, his own mega suits, everything else. And you're telling me he can't get out based off of what? And then on top of that, when you finish that, you seem even let's go even deeper with the whole thing. The creatures at the beginning, the like cellular type creatures, like the giant blue type, they can't kill ants, but ants can survive. What? It had like, why is the sun moving closer to me? Oh shoot, I gotta turn massive to kill that and throw out but ants? I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to anybody who loves ants. I get it. But when we name most powerful characters inside of the Avengers alone, Ant-Man's not top 5. He's not top 5. And you're going to tell me he can beat Kang and Kang's a new big bad? I don't get it.
I think, and I don't want this. We've been kind of shitting on this movie for like 20 minutes. So if you guys are still with us, this is not, we didn't come up here to have a bitch fest about it. But I think what they're kind of going towards is it's not the sheer, which is kind of contradictory the way that they pitched it, but whatever. It's not the sheer just like power of Kang. It's the fact that there's millions of him.
Yeah.
And he's the only one that knows how any of this multiverse travel shit works. So it's like you kill one here, but okay, that doesn't mean anything because there's 1,000 over here that are just going to do the same shit. And now you just have another couple hundred that are just going to fill that vacuum that this now defeated one has left. So I feel like that's kind of like what they're gonna make is like Kang's most problematic thing for the Avengers to get over now. Is just the fact that like he just keeps popping up like a fucking whack-a-mole.
So what did you like about the film? Give me 2 things you liked about the film.
I loved Jonathan Majors as Kang.
Okay.
I love Jonathan Majors as Kang. I liked, because I always suspected there was something Janet was hiding. I liked that angle of the movie. Because, I mean, she was down there for 30 years, bro. Like, and she lived. Like, she you know.
Yeah, she did. She lived.
You're like, if, you know, you go to a foreign place, this is not even just like, this ain't like going to Iowa. This is, you know, we're in a quantum realm. And, you know, she survived there for 30 years. Yeah, she probably had to get into some shit to survive, you know?
True. So towards the end of the film, when it's wrapping up, and you see how Kang was running towards the portal after he just put pause on Ant-Man. Did you you saw that he was going to get shot through? He wasn't going to be able to escape. Like, what did you think was going to happen?
And that's my big thing, man. That's my big thing with the movies lately is, and a lot of people have been talking about if Marvel has kind of lost its magic, because at no point in this movie did I feel like the hero was going to actually lose.
Yeah.
Like, if this is supposed to be the next big bad, the next big overarching villain for your next big phase, saga, whatever you want to call it, perhaps maybe they just shouldn't have had Kang have this much screen time. Maybe they just shouldn't have had him fight. But again, on one hand, I'm like, maybe they shouldn't have had him fight until they wanted to introduce him like Thanos. But the difference between Thanos and Kang is Kang's power is in his numbers, really, because he's everywhere. You can't just kill Kang and then that be it, because there's 1,000 more where that came from. So I understand why they did it that way, but I feel like it would have been so much more menacing. Like, to go back to my original point about like the happy ending and like not feeling like the heroes are going to lose. When Thanos came in Infinity War, I mean, obviously we were all shocked to see the snap happen at the end, and then it just cut to black. But in hindsight, when you look at it, Thanos was giving them work for the entire movie, bro.
The entire time.
He was giving them work for the entire movie.
And
like there was never any doubt in Thanos' mind. Like, you see Kang get frustrated and maybe like out of character a little bit, because again, this is a guy who's conquered worlds and universes several times over. He hasn't just conquered a world or multiple worlds or one universe. He's done worlds and multiple worlds in multiple universes. So for him to be at war with these rebels in the quantum realm and move the way that he does, like for his empire to just fall in a day, is just,
it doesn't sit silly. Well with you, does it?
It doesn't sit well with me. It doesn't make any sense. Yeah. And I get it. There's going to be more Kangs, and that's really the issue here.
But they made him the conqueror. They made him. They kept saying that he's the conqueror. He also made it seem like he was in exile because he was messing the timeline up with the other ones, because he was trying to conquer all the timelines.
Exactly. So,
and then you tell me he gets defeated?
To that point, if this guy can get taken out by Ant-Man, why didn't the Council of Kangs, who were clearly more powerful than Ant-Man, why didn't they just take him out themselves instead of exiling him? You only exile someone when you can't actually beat them.
That's my point. And like, this movie would have been...
They could, and if the other Kangs are stronger than this Kang, they could have easily killed him, in my opinion. Because on paper or in a vacuum, they must be stronger than him. Because otherwise, what are we building up to? If he's the strongest one, we're building up to a weaker Kang. Doesn't make any sense. Of course, we're building up to something stronger, something more OP.
My alternate ending, if I had my way, would have been Kang's in exile, which he was. He got the ability to get out of the portal. Scott either was killed or he was left down there, and which would brought back to the end scene of having the Council of Kangs come together. King Tut's on the way, by the way, so we have some stuff. I like that. But the Council will be concerned that, hey, he's out and he's coming back for us to conquer everything, which explains why they had the whole group meeting in the first place. That's what I would have done. It also makes you feel like, hey, that this guy is so big and bad. Ant-Man's, if you don't want to keep him alive, but he's also consequences for going to the quantum realm. Because right now it made it seem like I just did it for no reason, nothing, no big bad.
Right.
But it also gave us like, damn, Kang's out there now. He has ability. He has all this technology. Where's he going to pop up next? Is this a good King or is it a bad King? We don't know. That's what I would have had preferred to see in the conclusion. Not this, because this looks like a one-off movie.
And you know,
they
tried to make it more consequential, if you will, at the end of the film, because you have Scott narrating to himself, but they made it kind of a joke. Like, well, wait a minute, didn't he say that if I killed him, that all this bad stuff would happen and blah 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 blah? Well, it's probably all right. Like they made it like a joke, and I get it. It's not a joke, and maybe that's the point of making it a joke. Is that like, no, some real serious shit's coming. But to your point, it didn't feel like there were a lot of stakes.
No.
In this one, like to your point, I would have, because he needs Pym particles, or what? That's what they said. He needed Pym particles. You could have easily had him defeat Ant-Man one-on-one after Ant-Man destroys the orb, and have Kang take some Pym particles, or take all the remaining Pym particles from Ant-Man and escape. You could have done that as a post-credit scene.
And then you'd be like, whoa, okay. I'm looking forward to future films. Like, I like that. I like that. Right?
Think about how much more you're looking forward to the next film now with Kang, now that he's gotten out, because now and maybe this is just not part of the story, but now you have Kang the Conqueror, the one who wants to prune all other timelines and make one timeline. In addition to the Council of Kangs now saying, okay, not only did this guy get out, but now we have an Avenger who knows about the multiverse and knows that this exists now, because that was their main concern, was they're starting to touch the multiverse, right? That's their concern. That's why they came together. So now you have, it's an even better story, because now you have the Council of Kangs trying to stop the Avengers from messing with their multiverse strategy. But you also got this wild card out here that you guys have exiled that's coming for your fucking neck.
And I agree with you. And then I'm going to be pro Marvel for a second. I think that we as fans were spoiled with 10 years of greatness in 1 or 2 calendar years. And then we expect every film to go that way. I agree. Feel like if this was comparable to the first Avenger, or comparable to Guardian of the Galaxy 1, like stuff like that, where we didn't have high expectations, we just let the movies go on the flow, and then 5 films in, 6 films in, we see what really happens. I think that's how we need to look at this in the future, because we got the guy we wanted. We got Jonathan Majors. We know what the multiverse. We've seen the Council of Kang, so we know more is coming. That maybe we should be given a little grace that they know what they're doing because they did it before. But I just don't like how it ended, man. I just
I agree with you. I think, and again, it's been a half an hour, and we've been kind of talking about all the things we really did not like, and some of the plot holes, and some of the things that didn't work well. All in all, I still enjoyed this movie. Okay. It's not, the movie's not shit. It's still light years better than Love and Thunder. I think Love and Thunder is a bottom tier Marvel movie, but we won't get into that right now. Okay. So like, I did enjoy the movie. I just think, again, I feel the same way about this movie that I did about Multiverse of Madness. I enjoyed it. It was cool, but it was not anything what I expected it to be as far as stakes, overall kind of like, maybe it will have a bigger impact on the overall next phase of the movies. Yeah. And maybe that's just me being a prisoner of the moment and not seeing how this is going to come together later on. Because to your point, they've been doing this for a long time. They clearly know what they're doing. But also too, what they, right. I call it, I call it the LeBron effect sometimes. Like, it's just like, you're so good that like when you average 28, 8 and 7, it's just like, whatever. Yeah, it was a cool season, I guess. It's just like, dude, he averaged 28, 8 and 7 on 56%. What are you talking about? What do you mean it was an okay season? Yeah. But it's just because we're just so used to them just putting out so much heat that like something that's just okay seems bad in comparison.
Now, I will say this. I will be watching Loki 2 because of the second credit scene.
Yeah, super
I
excited.
would not have been watching Loki 2 prior to that credit scene. Again, hat off to Jonathan Majors, because you are saving a lot of scenes that I would not have cared for. But there was a really cool thing about it is that if we watch this film again, you see that when all the Kangs are popping up, everything, you saw him do like a boxing type thing, like a Creed type flow. You see like all the characters, see him as an alien form, you see him as a regular human, see him as the Egyptian. It was really cool. This because that's everything Jonathan Major is, and like you knocked it out the park with this. I want to see where Ant-Man goes from now, because what's the point of having another Ant-Man movie?
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know. Honestly, I think they would probably do well not having another Ant-Man one, because, and maybe this is just a more of a modern thing where like we're so kind of in love, I guess, with trilogies. But I feel like the Thor franchise could have stopped at Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah.
I feel like Love and Thunder didn't do anything to Thor Ragnarok. Is by far and away the best Thor movie.
I agree.
And it's not even close. The other three are bottom tier, like in the bottom 10 of Marvel movies. All three of them are.
Do you think that this Ant-Man, there might be some major Ant-Man fans, so I don't want to sound like I'm being rude or disrespectful, but it just seems like a footnote. Like, just like, hey, you had to put this in the storyline for Kane's prequel. Pretty much, it kind of feels like it's not really. I don't care if it's Ant-Man. I think
it's part of that, right? Because of course, no one's generally checking for an Ant-Man film. So putting Kang in this one makes a lot of sense from a fiscal standpoint, right? Because you get more butts and seats. If it was just Ant-Man 3 against a regular Ant-Man villain, then
wouldn't have won.
You know, you probably don't make as much money as you will off of doing this. But also, too, it ties in with the story because, again, he was the one that was stuck in the quantum realm during the blip. Of course, Janet has experience in the quantum realm. Of course, the proximity with Pym particles and how that all works and stuff like that. So it makes sense story-wise, but two things can be true, right? Like I get it, but I also understand, why you chose to put your next heavy hitter villain in an Ant-Man movie too, right? I'm what I'm telling myself right now to be less disappointed about it is that Kang didn't actually die.
Maybe he didn't. Maybe he didn't.
Maybe he didn't. I mean, and even if he is, there's 1,000 more of them. But I just don't. It just doesn't sit with me that this. And maybe that's our fault. It's still Disney at the end of the day. Maybe that's our fault for thinking that, like, oh yeah, they're definitely going to kill an Avenger in his own movie. Like, of course, they were never going to do that. This is Disney at the end of the day. It's still Disney.
That's true. That is true. Well, I know something else you maybe think about, like plots or just plot holes. If she had a suit the entire time when she was free falling, why didn't she put it on?
Because she's an idiot.
I just thought about that. Like, why would she not put it on?
Or they just played it up for story.
So between 0 and 5, my friend, what would you rate this film?
Strong 3.
Strong 3.
Strong 3. Not good, not bad. Extremely mid.
I'm gonna go with, because I'm a little emotional about this because I was so hype. 2 out of 5. I'm gonna say that it is bottom tier far as Marvel films, and it sucks because Jonathan Majors did such a great job. But outside of him, the whole make everything a joke, like as in like there's no consequence to the quantum realm. And prior films, you made it seem like it was like one like you don't do that because you're gonna fuck everything up. To now like we just walk in and walk out like a restaurant door. That just throws me off a little bit. And then when they came back, you made it seem as if like, hey, I missed so many birthdays. I gotta have a birthday party. Like you just made it seem like time was so important. But then what you just did and advancing a insect for thousands of years, does nothing for us. Even Hank was like, "Yo, why are we still alive?" And then it's like, "Hey, everything's fine." It just didn't. It didn't taste good. It didn't taste good at all.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think my biggest issue with with them just putting it all in the quantum realm was that there were no stakes to going in and out of the quantum realm, which before there were all these stakes to it.
Facts.
You know, I didn't like. I mean, even an offhand comment about like Janet, like she was there in 30 years our time, right? So the way it was with Scott when he was in the quantum realm, he was in there for like what 10 hours a day. I don't know how long it was, but it wasn't a long time. It wasn't 5 years, is what I'm saying.
I know she
goes down there, but Janet goes down there and seemingly 30 years is 30 years. But ants go down there for one day and they spend 1,000 years. That it doesn't. It's not consistent. And maybe that's the point. I don't know. Maybe I'm looking too far into it. Maybe it's just like time is just erratic in the quantum realm. But that's extremely convenient when you want to be lazy with your writing.
Yeah, and also something else that I didn't. I'm sorry, I don't mean to bash this film, but I guess I do mean to bash it. I was expecting for him to be in this chair a little more than what he was. Like I was expecting for, I'm not sure why. I expected to feel like him like floating around or doing different things, like for a power source type thing. Didn't really see that. But then when you saw him when he was mad and he was shooting his beams and he was obliterating things, they were like going straight into like evaporating air. Why the ants? Oh, they had armor. That's why it didn't work out. That's why it didn't happen to them. Anyway, what's the next podcast you want to talk about, brother?
Yeah, again, guys, if you guys are still with us, thank you for toughing it out with us. This sounds like we hated the movie. We did not hate the movie.
I did.
It's one of those movies where it's just like there were some things I really, really, really like about the movie, but there were other things about it where I'm just like, what are you doing? What are you doing? I'm not even going to speak on MODOK because it was. I feel like in the writing room there was never any suggestion that we were going to take MODOK seriously. That was never a pitch. No one ever pitched a serious MODOK. But anyways, I'm getting away from my point. My point is, I love Jonathan Majors. I love Kang. I'm excited to see more of Kang because every scene that he's in crushes it. He's awesome. He's menacing. He's cunning. He's brutal. He's ruthless. He's exactly what I imagined when you hear Kang the Conqueror. Yes. That's what I think of. Some of the other things, the plot holes, just the inconsistency in how they're treating the quantum realm, why they paid Bill Murray whatever the fuck they paid him to be in the movie for 3.5 minutes when they could have just gotten any actor off the street and done the same job for a fraction of the price, I'm sure.
Just to say he smashed Janet, that was funny.
Just to say that he smashed. That's it. That's all he was there for.
Oh man.
But
they can make it up to me though. They can make it up to me if they find a way to get Kang as he is and Tony in the same room in the future. I know it's taking away that.
Well, I don't want to get into that. I don't want to get into that, but I do think, hopefully, I'm hoping again, if this is the same brain trust in the MCU that gave us the last 10 years. Hopefully in a couple of years, we look back on this movie and we're like, you know what? This set up a lot of good shit. And I'm glad this movie existed. But right now, I'm not feeling like that. But
I don't see shit.
Again, guys, I don't hate the movie. I do not hate the movie. It was cool, but probably not something I'm going to revisit. So, again, like, subscribe. Don't forget to comment. Let us know what you guys thought. I'm really interested to see how people are going to feel about this movie because, like, the critics have been kind of shitting on it too. Now, I don't think the movie is as bad as the critics make it out to be, but maybe it's just because I'm just not like a huge film buff, and maybe there's other things aside from the obvious plot holes and inconsistency writing and stuff like that, that maybe I'm not seeing, and maybe I'm just giving it the benefit of the doubt because it is the MCU, and I don't want to completely shit on it, which is probably true because I feel like if this movie was this movie and it had a DC label on it, I'm sure more people will be shitting on it publicly.
I agree.
But you know, I do think that's what winning consistently over a decade gets you. It gets you the benefit of the doubt. You can put out clunkers like Love and Thunder and Quantumania and She-Hulk. Jesus Christ, you know what I mean? And people are like, "Oh, that was awful," but the next thing you put out, I'm probably still going to see it.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
What's the last project that was purely Marvel that you actually liked?
I liked Wakanda Forever.
Oh.
I liked it.
Okay.
I liked it a lot better than this movie. And like now looking back on some of the gripes I had with Wakanda Forever, I would gladly have some of those gripes with this movie. Just in comparison. Like when we talk about like writing and how convenient it is for plot armor, the Namor thing they did in Wakanda Forever with like the toaster. Okay, that was convenient, but at least that made fucking sense.
True.
And they set it up like they were like researching like, oh, this is how he gets his power. This is what we need to do. Okay, cool. I'm with you.
Just asking.
You know,
people feel like, subscribe, please comment. If you don't agree with us, you think we're so full of crap, and you have 1,000 reasons why, comment that. I'll reply. I will. Same energy.
You got time?
I do. I got time. So,
but yeah, no, seriously, guys, let us know what you thought, because I mean, I haven't felt this down on a Marvel movie in a while. Like I felt down about Love and Thunder, but this has Kang in it, guys. Like I had super high hopes for this film.
Yes.
And I feel like I was let down a lot. I feel like I was let down a lot. Very, very disappointing. Again, not a shitty movie, but not a great one by any stretch of the mean either. So
love you guys. Peace and love. Your boy Grizz, Prince.
It's been a pleasure, man. As always.
Till the next movie.
Yeah. We'll see you guys next time.